Wait for John or just go?
That's probably good.
We can certainly, we have staff on hand.
We do.
Actually,
Now I see why he's so successful. He cracked the whip.
because we got
All right, we're going to call this meeting to order. If we could, please call the meeting to order. With that, we'd like everybody to stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right.
well, he's
We'll go down, first thing is roll call. John, you want me to take it? Okay. Yep,
All right. Commissioner Kibble.
I am here.
Commissioner Ettinger.
Here.
Commissioner Jetter.
Here.
Commissioner Provo.
here.
Commissioner Sahaki.
Here.
Commissioner Callahan.
Here.
Commissioner McAllister.
Here.
And Commissioner Smits and Commissioners Underwood are unavailable this evening. We have a quorum.
All right, we have a quorum, thank you. With that, we will start with first public comment. John, do you want to read that,
I will be
please?
happy to. Any person shall be permitted to address the Parks and Recreation Commission, which is required to be open to the public under the provision of the Michigan Open Meetings Act as amended. Public comment shall be carried out in accordance with the following board rules and procedures. Number 1, any person wishing to address the commission may state his or her name and address. No person shall be allowed to speak more than once on the same matter, excluding commissioners' questions. The president shall control the amount of time each person shall be allowed to speak, which shall not exceed 3 minutes. The president may, at his or her discretion, extend the amount of time any person is allowed to speak. No member of the commission or staff shall respond to public comment. All commenters must refrain from any personal or political attacks on any member of the public, staff, or board. No profanity, harassment, or bullying will be tolerated and will provide just cause to be removed from the building.
All right, with that, would anybody like to make first public comment?
Hi, good evening. My name is Karen Smith, and I
Can you
live
speak into the microphone, please?
Karen Smith. I live at 1330 Cants Road for over 50 years. We've owned that property. I would like you to please think about how serious this evening's agenda is to the people and the environment of the Forest Lakes area. You'll have extraordinarily little pushback from the residents if you stick to the actual vision the park is presenting. The vision reads as follows. The vision for Camp Graylick is a public county park to provide a space for outdoor education and recreation. This mirrors the location's historic and long-standing use as a Boy Scout camp. The Boy Scout camp did not serve alcohol. The Boy Scout camp did not have amplified music other than 2 minutes in the morning and 2 minutes at night. Start the day, end the day. Definitely not all day, not every day, or until the park closes. We are a quiet area. This plan keep being presented is trying to say they're addressing the 97,000 residents of the county. We know this is not correct, as the residents of the Forest Lake area, the Brown Bridge Quiet area, and anybody who's a conservationist at all knows that this plan will do irreparable damage to this property. The compatibility of large events and amplified music in this location is just not a proper fit for the people, the animals, anything. It's just not a fit. These uses are very well documented by the Township Board as non-allowable in the Forest Lakes area. All East Bay parks limit noise. This is not the Civic Center or Power Island, as we are continually compared to. We live here, it's a quiet area on a small lake in the woods. When the damage has been done to the environment with this presented plan, who will come in and take corrective action? Will we even be alive that long? How many years of damage will need to be done before the realization hits that these events are not the best for this location? Like the seed staff coming in, making steps down to the beach in an effort to say this was to prevent erosion. There was natural landscape there, but now there are steps to the beach. Is this conservation? In the 50-plus years our family has been there, yes, there have been many changes. I do understand change, but the woods, the animals, the birds, and the quiet have not changed. In closing, I realize that persons don't always stick to what they tell us in the meetings, but I would hope as a board that you make decisions that are best for the actual location in question. Please vote no on incorrect use of this land. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mary Thompson. Thank you, Karen. I echo all of her sentiments. She speaks really well for all the neighbors that live in the area. A little bit about me. I don't know a lot of you. I just want to introduce a little bit. I did graduate law school from Wayne State in 1989. I passed the bar and practiced in Indiana for labor law and then quit to stay home with my kids for a long time. I just want to give that a little bit of background because I learned about zoning for East Bay Township through the GOREC procedure. And then after that, I took a Michigan State University extension class called Citizen Planner, where we learned more about the legalities of zoning. And so what I'd like to talk to you tonight just briefly is about the zoning issues that you guys are going to face. You guys have already started the site plan approval. That's great. But I want to give you a heads up that there are 5 issues that I think you're going to have to overcome with zoning. And none of these matter that it's the county that owns it. None of these matter that it's a park. These are all zoning issues that apply to everybody that tries to do anything different than what the Boy Scouts did in our area. The first one is we have in East Bay Township 2 or 3 zoning districts that allow public events and public event venues. Under our ordinance, as explained by Brian Graham, our then township attorney, that means that the Planning Commission cannot approve an event center in our township because in our area of the township because we have other areas that have it, that make a better fit. You're going to have to overcome that. And again, these are really just a heads up for you guys. The other thing is that there's an expansion. One of the problems is there's an expansion of a non-conforming use. The Boy Scouts were allowed to do this, that, and the other. The township investigated it. They sent a letter to the Rotary that said, we have found these are the historical uses. What were not included were weddings, day use of and having public assembly, bike races, corporate retreats. All of those things were specifically excluded as history by the Boy Scouts at the property. So the park plans of having these events, that is not in line with the history of the use of the property. That's another zoning argument you're going to have to come to. The other thing is no PUDs are allowed in our lake area. You're asking for all these special exemptions. You're asking for all this permission. Is that a warning for 1 minute, or am I done?
You're done, thank you.
I'm done, okay. The other 3 are in my letter, I'll send it to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Mary. My name's Larry Mudd. I live in East Bay Township. I'm also a member of Protect Forest Lakes and the president of that organization. Those of you that don't know who Protect Forest Lakes is, it's an organization we started about 4 years ago. It's a nonprofit, and basically its mission is identical to what its name is, to help protect the forest lakes. We do have some specific objectives, and I'm going to read just a few of those, are to protect and sustain the land and water resources of the forest lakes, to educate the public and promote public awareness of issues with environmental and economic importance. These are certainly happening here today, and to provide accurate information to assist public participation in decisions affecting the Forest Lakes area. And we're a fancy organization, so we do have a logo. Here it is. It's hard to read for you guys, but I'll point it out. It simply says Protect Forest Lakes at the top, In the middle, it has a little artist rendering of a nice nature picture. But most important, at the bottom, it says, "We love it here." So, and because we love it here, we have tonight are presenting a petition that has been signed by 279 people, and that was as of count this morning. I'm going to read you the specific text of that petition, and if any of this needs to be submitted, we've got all the paperwork. I agree that intense uses that include large-scale events, alcohol, and amplified music are inappropriate for the county park's location in the environmentally sensitive Forest Lakes and alongside the Brown Bridge quiet area. Passive recreation, outdoor education, and youth programming should be encouraged, but large events, alcohol, and amplified music would pose great threats to the safety, character, and environment of the Forest Lakes region. So please consider the concerns of the 279 people who signed this petition when finalizing your plans. All we're simply asking is that you be a good neighbor and help us to protect the Forest Lakes. Thank you.
If we could get a copy of that.
Sure.
Yep.
Who do I give it to?
We'll include that in the minutes. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Caitlin Falensky, 660 East Arbutus Lake Road. Recently, I attended a hike with 7 others. There was a marked section of the trail where you must hike silently since it's in proximity to an eagle's nest. All 8 of us were silent. The only noise was the rustling of our hiking boots in the grass. Our silent hiking aggravated the eagles. She flew overhead, yelling at us and trying to divert us away from the nest. If 8 silent hikers can bother wildlife that significantly, what impact will 50 adults consuming alcohol and singing along to amplified music have on the wildlife? I understand this is a county park, but it is a county park with a conservation easement. And the purpose of that easement is to protect, maintain, enhance, and retain the natural resources, watershed values, biodiversity, and quality habitat for native plants and animals. Please treat this property similar to Maple Bay, a county-owned park with a focus on conservation, just like Greilich. Instead of commercializing the property, why don't you double the endowment? If you say no to these negative impacts, the funds will be raised. If there is not a financial necessity to offer these amenities, there should be no reason for them to exist. And if they do not exist, you will have hundreds of neighbors in the Forest Lakes area happy to help raise funds for a safe, quiet, peaceful park. Please create a park that is financially sustainable and solely focused on outdoor recreation and youth education, as it was originally pitched to the county commissioners. No alcohol consumption, no amplified music, and no large events. Thank you for your time and listening.
Hello, my name's Paul Maxbauer. I'm 409 West 12th Street, Traverse City, and I'm the chair of the Brown Bridge Advisory Committee. I want to call your attention once again to the June 28th letter that the Brown Bridge Advisory Committee sent to city officials with the understanding it would be forwarded to county and township officials. I just wanted to share, to begin with, I've been thinking about this. It's turning into this big, contentious issue, and I really feel like I understand you commissioners. You have a tough decision to make. This is not easy. On one hand, you have your Parks Department putting forth a plan, and you have a decision to make, to vote yes or no on that, or to modify the plan. This is important work. And look at the audience here tonight. You have significant opposition to amplified music, larger groups, and the use of alcohol by larger groups. There is very significant opposition to that in the Forest Lakes area, by lovers of the Brown Bridge quiet area and users of the quiet area, people in the city, people in Grand Traverse County, people in East Bay Township. And think about it, they're all your constituents. So your vote, your decision-making is a heavy one, because you have to consider not just the Department of the Parks, their plan, you have to consider all these hundreds, thousands of people. What do they think about this? I wanted to real quick share with you, I was looking on my computer today, and I got information by the trail counter. Brown Bridge Quiet Area, we have trail counters. One at the west end, we call it Brown's Landing. The average number of people hiking across that bridge every day is 142. And the average on the Grasshopper Creek Bridge, which is way on the east end, where it's much more remote, the average use there is 43 per day. But this is an eye-opening one. The yearly use of these trails for Brown's Landing, the yearly use, the last year, 51,000 people hiked that trail and crossed that bridge. Think about that. I don't think those 51,000 people are going to be in favor of
Thank you.
amplified music,
We're done.
large
Thank you.
groups, okay, and alcohol. Thank you very much.
Can I close this?
Yeah.
Okay, Jacqueline Andrus, Brown Bridge Advisory Committee, 1847 East Arbutus Lake Road, and I'm also a member, or East Bay Township resident. So these are public comments that I made to the East Bay Township Board of Trustees on Monday. In September of 2022, this board wisely decided that it would not approve any GORIC application involving alcohol or amplified music at the former Camp Grey Lake. These minutes capture the board's position that the possibility of amplified noise, alcohol, and large events would change the intended character of the general vicinity, and that proposed uses could very well be hazardous or disturbing to existing or future uses in the same general vicinity and in the community as a whole. In response to this well-reasoned position, the Rotary withdrew its application and the matter was closed. Fast forward to the present, and now the county is asking to do the same thing, large-scale events with alcohol and amplified music. Trustees, while directly undermining your authority and the decision you already made on this matter, the county stamped version of GORIC 2.0 is headed to the Planning Commission. John, let's visit your blog of August 7th. Parks Commission members, staff have worked hard to operationalize a vision for the park that considers all 96,000 residents of the county while still taking into account preserving quiet and the character of the neighborhood. Those are your blog words. Merriam-Webster defines neighborhood as a district or an area of a town, city, or rural area, often with a specific character or identity. Commissioners, Township trustees have already stated their position on alcohol and amplified music. Nothing about amplified music, no matter how you say it, print it, or post it, John. Nothing about amplified music preserves the quiet nor the character of the neighborhood or the community. In fact, commissioners, amplified music at any hour of the day threatens the neighborhood, destroys the quiet, and damages the character of the neighborhood and, to the broadest degree, our cherished Brown Bridge quiet area. In your management plan, you state the following regarding hiking trails. I forgot my good glasses. Trails may merge with the city-owned property to the south and with the Brown Bridge quiet area to create a larger trail system in the area, subject to that property's acquisition and desire to connect. So I ask you, is this truly how you want to begin this long-term relationship with the city and its advisory committee? And it's for these reasons that we state above. We stand against any amplified music, any hour of the day. Make that clear. I'll make that clear. Let's stand united and not divided. Vote, say no to amplified music and alcohol. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Stephen Dornbos. I've been on Rennie Lake since 1979. I am also a contributor to the endowment fund. And I just want to let you know, I think your proposed policy for alcohol is flawed. And I'll give you the reasons why. I have a 50-year association with the Michigan Liquor Control Commission to this day. So I'm involved with liquor every single day. And this is just not going to work, and I'll give you an example why. Every licensee in the state of Michigan is entitled to a catering permit. $100 is the fee. A catering permit allows you, the licensee, to bring to any location like Camp Graylick. Good example would be Commissioner Rob Henschel. I could go to Roy's and say, Rob, I got 45 of my best fraternity brothers that have hired the Golden Girls with their 12-foot brass pole, and we're going to have a party. I'd like a case of Fireball and 10 cases of alcohol, beer. Please provide a bartender. No money is exchanged. It's served. And what could go wrong with a party like that? So there's one way that we can prevent this. Invest in a half a dozen signs. No alcohol permitted at Camp Graylick. Thank you.
I'm Terry Brandt, Rennie Lake. Steve's got a little time on me. I've been there, it'll be 40 years this year. Anyway, I'd like to talk about what it takes, since I've been there long enough, to be a good neighbor. Mary was here earlier. She's one of my best. Good neighbors respect property, customs, traditions, and local laws. They complement, not erase, the character of the neighborhood. They don't move in and assert special privileges. They don't throw big parties. They don't blast loud music and send intoxicated drivers onto neighboring roads. Your single biggest neighbor at the park will be Brown Bridge Quiet Area. Amplified music from events will shatter the peace, quiet, and tranquility of this natural gem. Intoxicated drivers leaving those events will spill into quiet area roads, mixing with hikers, bikers, and families who once had a safe place to enjoy nature. So we ask, whether from a public event or a private event, which we've all been confused on, unless we're intimately involved, and it says, is noise leaving the park property entering the quiet appropriate at any time of day? Whether public or private, are intoxicated drivers any less of a threat? The answer seems obvious, yet here we go. The Brown Bridge Advisory Committee folks had some thoughts on this in a letter authored to the city leadership. I'd like to share some excerpts so you can conclude for yourself if any of this sounds like being a good neighbor. The advisory committee has stated many significant concerns with other property uses that will negatively and gravely impact the integrity, vision, mission, and protection of our beloved BBQA. Should amplified music be permitted, the mission and existence of the BBQA will be debased and prove to be pernicious to all who have grown to love and visit to enjoy the quiet area. Allowed either by outside party vendors, private parties, or brought in by the public, alcohol consumption by park users put our local roads and road safety at high risk. Ultimately, we'd like to see the county's new plan modified as it relates to peaceful and quiet coexistence with its largest neighbor, the BBQA. I looked it up, and the advisory committee's purpose is to make recommendations to restore, preserve, and protect the integrity of Brown Bridge property. Sounds to me like they're taking this responsibility pretty seriously. Writing the letter and pleading with you to be a good neighbor. It's really quite sad they've been put in this position to begin with, but it's not too late to do the neighborly thing and make this right. Just say no to alcohol and amplified music and stay cool to what your original vision was. Let's make this a better place for our families to live. Thank you.
Good evening, Brandon Falensky. East Arbutus Lake, East Bay Township resident. Casey Cowell could not be here tonight due to extenuating circumstances, but he asked that we read this letter in his behalf. Dear Commissioners, I'm writing to express my deep disappointment with the current direction of the former Camp Graylick Scout Camp property. I was proud to help secure this land for public use, stepping in when the county's negotiations with the Rotary reached an impasse and the property was at risk of being sold into private hands. My wife and I personally gifted $3,250,000 to the Grand Traverse Regional Land Conservancy to purchase and hold the property so the county could conduct 120 days of diligence before ultimately purchasing the park property from the Conservancy. That vision was rooted in a public park that would preserve the character of the Forest Lakes area, a quiet, natural setting that supports youth programming, outdoor education, and passive recreation. A couple of years earlier, I had worked alongside local residents to stop proposals that would have transformed the property into a significant events venue with amplified music, alcohol, and large-scale gatherings. We succeeded in preventing those uses because they were wholly incompatible with the surrounding environment, violated many core aspects of the local zoning ordinance, and the East Bay Township Board ultimately decided that alcohol and amplified music weren't appropriate for this type of venue in the Lakes area. It is deeply troubling to see that the county now proposing these plans that echo those same inappropriate uses. We are, in effect, revisiting the same battle, only this time it is the government, not a private organization, proposing to disregard the property's natural setting, the community's well-being, and the stated wishes of its elected township representatives. I urge you to realign the park's future with its original purpose, a sanctuary for nature, learning, and low-impact recreation, not a site for high-intensity events. The people of Grand Traverse County deserve a park that reflects the values of stewardship, respect for neighbors, and protection of irreplaceable natural assets. Our gift, financially, personally, and in principle, was made with the belief that this property would serve the public in a way that honors its location and history. The current proposal risks betraying that trust. I ask you to reconsider and to choose a course that safeguards both the property and the public interest for generations to come. Sincerely, Casey Cowell, Traverse City, Michigan. He's also emailed a copy, signed copy, but I'll leave this for you.
Good evening. My name is Ralph Bednars. I reside on Rennie Lake in East Bay Township. I'm also the current president of the Rennie Lake Association. The Rennie Lake Association is a nonprofit 501c3 organization with the purpose of preserving and protecting the water quality, ecosystem services, and quality of life in Rennie Lake and its watershed through education, leadership, and collaboration. We appreciate the opportunity to comment on the proposed operation and management plan for the public park at the former Camp Graylick property. This portion of the Camp Graylick property includes approximately 3,000 feet of ecologically sensitive Rennie Lake shoreline and associated bottomland, and is adjacent to several riparian properties. As such, we have a significant interest in the future uses of this property and resulting impact on the lake and the quality of life of the Rennie Lake community. We support the county's plans for positive and low-impact uses of the property, such as environmentally respectful recreation, outdoor education, and youth camps and programming. These activities can provide valuable opportunities for the residents while preserving the natural beauty and integrity of the area, including the Brown Bridge Quiet Area Addition. It is critical that any proposed uses align with the principles of environmental conservation and community well-being. We applaud the county's decision to not allow outside watercraft access to the lakes, Rennie, Spider, and Bass via the park property. We are opposed to any intense uses that include large-scale events, alcohol, and amplified music. We do not feel that these are appropriate uses for a park in the Forest Lakes area, especially one that includes a conservation easement with the Grand Traverse County Regional Land Conservancy and is adjacent to the lakes and the Brown Bridge quiet area. Thank you for allowing me to comment.
Good evening. I'm Sherry Lynch, Rennie Lake, East Bay Township. In order for the stakeholders in the East Bay Township Forest Lakes area to better inform themselves, we contacted 12 former Michigan Scout camps which had been sold. After gathering data on each, we eliminated 8 from further study for various reasons, most because they were sold to private entities or because their circumstances deviated significantly from our situation, preventing a comparison of similars. Of the 4 we studied, 4 were rural, 3 were of comparable size to Gray Lake, 2 were co-located with lakeside private residents. Although hunting is allowed in just 1 park, a very large one, and there is an archery range in one, there are 0 gun ranges. Since comment time is very limited, and for your convenience, we present these best practices at rural parks that are co-located with private residences on a lake. No alcohol leads to the lowest risk. With all of the parks that we spoke with that do allow alcohol, park personnel admitted that there occurred alcohol-related incidents with more or less regularity. Amplified sound is not permitted at 3 of the 4 comparable parks. Twin Lakes is the exception. Twin Lakes has a holdover rule for alcohol and events. Twin Lakes is at the center of controversy, and not solely because of the handover to the township. Of significance is the fact that there is only 1 residence on that lake. No amplified sound is the best practice. Event best practice. One of the comparables only allows local nonprofits to apply for an event in the park. It has a process in place which puts the burden on the event applicant to carefully define in writing how they will maintain quiet and control risk to public safety and park infrastructure. No amplified sound is permitted. Further, after submitting their plan, the applicant must meet with a committee of park personnel, the deputy sheriff, and the fire chief before event size is determined and permission is granted for the event. If public safety personnel are called out during the course of the event, further events by that entity are not permitted. Event sponsors are positioned for good behavior by this process. Security overnight is provided by a trained park employee who lives on site and is present overnight 365 days of the year. In addition, the Director of Parks and Recreation meets regularly with lake residents to discuss how things are going. Everyone has his cell number. This practice engages the community of local residents and the park director.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Brian Lettinga, Rennie Lake. I live on Scout Camp Road. My property is directly across the lake from Besser Lodge and where the music testing took place in the past. And by nature, in my career, I'm an educator, so it seems like it'd be a good place to offer you some solutions rather than come and share, more importantly, that I am against alcohol and amplified music, but I also think this is a chance that this group can partner and create a true destination park where people across this state and perhaps the country will look at as a model of forward thinking and inquiry-based education for kids. And we have TCAPs right here, ready and willing. They just went through a strategic plan process earlier this week. Maybe some of you know Ty Schmidt. He lists it out in his weekly emails. They're looking for extracurricular spaces, and they're looking for places for kids to go in the summer and on the weekends. And that leads directly to their LEAP organization that they have that provide kids that may not have the privileges of other kids with free spaces to go and engage with outdoor recreation in a family-friendly way. Another way you could take advantage of this is work directly with the superintendent and figure out how classrooms can get out there on a regular basis. We have an AP biology course. There's the space for their research. It doesn't have to be grounded in amplified music or with alcohol use at all. Another organization just recently, last night on the news, the VASA and the TART Trail organization is starting a new campaign entitled Trailblazing for Tomorrow. There's another partnership that remains open to get some bike trails out there for kids. Norte is another organization locally that provides biking opportunities for kids in safe spaces. The bikes could be held out there. There could be day camps about biking. All these things would make far better use than what some are envisioning tied to a loose definition of recreation that certainly does not belong with the terms alcohol and amplified music. So I'm encouraging all you to be risk takers and find it in your ways forward that this is a time to be unique and to put a stamp on this community and make this a destination park where everyone will want to come and say, you know what, this group got it right, and we'll be thankful for that. And I appreciate your time and your thoughts.
Thank you. Hi, James Thompson, Scout Camp Road. Here we are again discussing the adverse impacts of the Graylick Event Center. There's a number of open questions still. One is event numbers. What is the total carrying capacity of the facility? Parks and Recs is still sticking firmly to 103 parking spots. There's a number of loopholes. Buses or other large transport vehicles come in. Right now, the management practices say that only one large venue will be booked at a time. That's only for the first year. After that, just those 3 venues could be 500. Another loophole is no caps on public events. And then finally, how are you saving space for public walk-ins with all these events going on? Second point is event frequency caps. We know the summer plus or minus 1 month is going to be the heavy demand period. Should the neighborhood be gearing up for large events every week? I would say probably. Parks and Rec's forecast is just that, and there are no caps or restrictions. The next is alcohol sales at private events. We need clarity in the language. Right now, there's a big loophole, which is sponsored open bars. No cash exchange. That was not the intent of the study group session, and that needs to be closed. Finally, races and large competitions. Again, there's no park carrying capacity. So that in itself is an enormous loophole. Management plan states that events should not degrade the overall park experience for public use. A couple of examples, disc golf tournaments going on. Somebody can't come out of the public and actually use that. You're having a bike race. Somebody can't use those trails. A couple other comments. I like that you put a rubric in for public events. If the rubric for public events applied to private events, no private events would meet the vision statement elements. Rubric for neighborhood input, given the low ambient noise level in the neighborhood, no large-scale events will meet this standard. And finally, Parks and Recreations already has an event center. It's called the Civic Center. I even like one name better than Camp Graylick, the Graylick Nature Preserve.
Matt Nikowski, Rennie Lake resident, East Bay Township. Alcohol-free, who ever heard of that? Offering social spaces without the pressure to drink? An alcohol-free environment is a setting or situation where alcoholic beverages are not present. Workplaces, social events, and even entire communities. The goal is to create a space that promotes safety, well-being, and inclusivity by removing the risks and potential harm associated with alcohol consumption. Alcohol-free events and social gatherings are becoming increasingly popular, catering to diverse preferences and promoting inclusivity. Benefits of alcohol-free environments: improved safety. Eliminating alcohol reduces the risks of accidents, injuries, and violence associated with impaired judgment and behavior. The alcohol-free drinking trend is gaining momentum. More people are choosing non-alcoholic options when socializing or unwinding. Non-alcoholic beer sales jumped 21% to 316 million in recent years. Non-alcoholic wine also saw a 20% increase to $50 million. By offering alcohol-free options, events to consume alcohol, including those in recovery, those with religious or cultural objections, and those who simply prefer not to drink. As John has pointed out in the past, people do recreate in different ways, and that's something we need to support. This plan misses the mark wildly by pushing for something the public clearly doesn't want and ignoring a pressing need this park could meet. And that's a safe place for families, youth, sober and sober curious, to recreate away from alcohol. Not all county parks. We have the potential for one park, the one next to the quiet area.
Thank you. Hi, my name's Mike Lynch. I live 2 houses down from the former GoRec property. I think for most people, unless you really live in that area, it's hard to really understand how quiet and how peaceful that area is on a consistent basis. It's a rare quality that few experience anywhere else, and especially in a lake environment. But this is all the more reason to keep it that way now that the property is joining the quiet area and opening itself to public deeply in need of this kind of mentally rejuvenating, peaceful experience. Surrounded by the quiet area and thousands of acres of state forest, the majority of the population is wildlife. Boats are few. Parties are rare. The sounds you hear during the loudest part of the day are the breeze and the loon calls. Starting with 7:30 evening quiet hours, the area becomes so still that professional sound equipment can't measure the ambient noise level. Besser Lodge, where the most frequent and intense events would occur, sits on a hill above Rennie Lake. There's nothing to buffer or observe the amplifying sound, which travels farther and louder over water. In a professional noise analysis of the property, the state's top acoustics engineer explained how refraction and temperature inversion can double perceived volume across lakes. In a demonstration we've shared, music at typical DJ levels was heard 0.8 of a mile away by a resident indoors with windows closed and headphones on. Given the omnidirectional nature of sound, especially bass, this disturbance would carry deep into the quiet area. We've shared the maps and the math with you, but the evidence is clear. Amplified music will cross park borders and undermine the purpose of the surrounding quiet area. And whether the amplified music is coming from a public event or a private event, the disturbance is completely alien and inappropriate for the park's location and purpose. East Bay Township already prohibited music at GoRec, and that was long before Traverse City voters overwhelmingly approved the quiet area expansion. Microphones for educational programming make sense, but the park's vision can still be fully realized while prohibiting amplified music for all events. Thank you for your time.
Ashley Sloat, 1482 Woods and Waters Trail on Rennie Lake. I have some questions for y'all to consider as you think about alcohol use in the property. This one sounds a little silly to ask, but why is there so much allowance for alcohol in a place where the focus is supposed to be youth programming? My kids don't drink alcohol, last I checked. Why are we not embracing the city's healthier drinking culture plan that encourages more public events that aren't alcohol-based. Why should any of us be expected to compromise on the safety of our children who will learn to drive on these roads? If a buzzed or intoxicated driver leaves a public event and kills my kid or somebody else's, do you think I care whether it's a public event or a private event? Our roads are challenging. Whether you're sober, they're winding, there's no shoulder, low line of sight, full of hikers, bikers, wildlife. Removed from, we're very removed from active policing. I don't think I've ever seen a police out there. So, who do you think's responsibility is for those buzzed and drunk drivers on our roads? Many of us can't get to town unless we pass Hobbs Highway. So is it reasonable for you to make it so that our access to town is gate-kept by the condition of drivers leaving your events? Is it reasonable for Brown Bridge users to now have to do a drunk driver risk calculation before hiking or biking on our roads? And why are you pressing so hard to amplify alcohol culture when not one person asked for it in your input sessions? If you approve alcohol sales and distribution at public events, what is your plan for making more ride shares available? Last I checked, I can't get a ride to the airport out there. And will you vet your public partners and make sure that they assist designated drivers from those events? Will you require that? And why do you feel it is appropriate to ignore the wishes of our elected representatives, the trustees of East Bay Township, who so clearly made it publicly known that they would not support alcohol at events at this same location? Others have carefully thought through these problems relative to the location and consistently came to the same conclusion that alcohol is not a safe use at this property. Does not give you significant pause in coming to a different conclusion? With over 114 places to drink in public in the county, will you not consider a balanced alternative for alcohol for families, the sober curious, and the rising majority of Gen Z people who don't want to drink alcohol? And finally, why does one drop of alcohol need to be poured to achieve the park's excellent vision? Thanks.
Scott Tinker, 1902 North Avenue in Huckleberry Island on Arbutus Lake. I was on Arbutus this morning really early in my sup, and the steam and fog was rising, and no one was on the lake. It was really early. Jupiter and Venus were in the eastern sky. But it doesn't mean no one was on the lake. There was a lot on the lake. A loon went by. I flushed a couple deer in 2 different places, drinking from the shoreline. There was an asylum of loons, 6 that circled around, and 2 bald eagles came across. And that's not a unique morning. I've been in over 60 countries in the world, and all 50 states many times. This is unique. My grandfather came here in 1921 with his mom. He bought Huckleberry Island from Old Man Salin for $80. He worked as a handyman at Hayawenta for 2 years. And then he started Camp Hazawitka, which means huckleberry in the native tongue. And he taught those boys, a camp for boys, how to live with the land, not on it. He also taught them when you say something, even if you don't like it later, you stick with that. There's a trend that's going on in the commissions now. You're being presented one thing by developers and landscapers and even our own government system, and it changes later. It creeps, and it becomes something else. And this is destructive to the government process. This will destroy confidence in what we do, okay? So you've been presented something early. We all heard it. My wife and I helped start Turtle Cove. We contributed significantly. We worked with Casey to bring the Mueller property with GoRec to the city. And we contributed to the endowment for this property under one set of beliefs. Do what is right. Stick with what we all heard. Start now, tonight, so that we don't undermine further and set the precedent for others to follow. Thank you.
Josh McNulty, Rainy Lake. We're new to the area, my family and I, my little boy's out there. And one of the most attractive things about the area is this is different. People think a certain way, act a certain way, and that way is caring about their neighbors and that was very
I
important.
could have you bring the mic back to you. Sorry. Thank you.
And it's caring about their neighbors, and that was very important to us. And as we've come up here, all that we've seen is confirmation of that. And it was a little disturbing to my wife and I when we got presented with this, I don't even know what to call it, plan that you all are considering. I'm not going to belabor the points about alcohol and amplified music. I think you absolutely get what every single person in here has come up. I have yet to see one person say, yes, let's do that. What I am very concerned about is who's going to make sure that all these rules are followed. Who's going to make sure that these people don't drive drunk out of these roads? Who's going to make sure that the park gets cleaned up? That's a lot of responsibility, and my fear, seeing these things in real life, in practical terms, is it's going to be the people in this room. It's going to be every one of us and our children that have to do that. And you're putting us in a position that we didn't sign up for, that we do not want. You're having us be the police, us be the janitors, us be every role along the way. And we do that now because we understand that the people in this room care about Rainy Lake. They care about these areas, so they're going to take care of it, so I'm going to take care of it. Because I have to look them in the eye, and they have to look me in the eye. But if you all are doing it from the behind the desk and taking that power away, and you're going to put people that don't necessarily care about it and are going to take care of it the same way that we do, and you're going to force us to do it, the least you could do, the absolute least you could do, is listen to the people in the room who have come here to voice their opinions. Thank you.
Hey, Paul Decker, Scout Camp Road. My property is directly adjacent to the Camp Relic property. I had some prepared notes, but everybody in this room has said the same thing, and they said it better than I can say it. They've inspired me, they said it so well. So I'm just coming up to implore upon you to listen to the people in this room, do the right thing. You guys know what to do. I get there's infrastructure there and you want to utilize it, and you want to utilize it to its maximum capacity. But there are alternatives that don't include some of the components of this plan, and I think you should be inspired by this population as well and make the right decision. Thank you.
Good evening. I love my neighbors. Josh Sloat, Rainy Lake resident. We're so close. I think we all heard it tonight. We're so close to a vision-aligned plan that would be strongly supported by the residents of the Forest Lakes, the users of the Brown Bridge Quiet Area, and residents of Grand Traverse County broadly. Creating a great park that satisfies community needs and provides value for the 96,000 county residents doesn't require duplicating the Civic Center and the Forest Lakes. And it doesn't require saying no as much as it requires saying yes to something bigger. To help us all see what this could look like, I want to remind everyone of 3 important details. 1, the park's vision is to protect and preserve the conservation values of the property and dedicate it as a public space where county residents and visitors can experience passive and outdoor recreation, learn to be better stewards of the environment, and develop skills to improve their outdoor experience. 2, John has wisely said that we should do things that get us closer to the vision and not do things that take us further from it. Where does alcohol and amplified music at large-scale events fall on that spectrum? 3, when asked about this before, John has responded that people recreate in different ways. Recreating in different ways isn't a blank check, nor is it permission to do what no one else could do at the location. While it is true that people recreate in different ways, it doesn't mean every form of recreation needs to be supported at this park. Recreational marijuana has the word recreation right in it, and that's not allowed. I'd like to propose a solution that is aligned with the vision and allows the county residents to responsibly recreate in different ways, but in ways that are respectful to the peace, character, safety, environment, wildlife, surroundings, local laws, and intents of the region. The county has a truly unique opportunity to open a park and create a unique experience where nature can succeed and wildlife can thrive in the face of explosive local growth. Where county residents and Brownbridge quiet area visitors can quietly recreate without the disruption of amplified music. Where families, sober curious, and the rising Gen Z majority choosing to abstain can safely enjoy natural surroundings without the presence and dangers of alcohol. And where youth programming, outdoor access, and education are the undiluted focal point, mission, and enduring legacy of this property. Please protect this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and say yes to something bigger. Thank you.
Anyone else would like to make public comment? With that, we'll close public comment and move on down to the next step. Approval of, or additions, changes to the agenda. Because we like to, we want to move some items up on the agenda. New business and old business? Which would be J and K. We want to move them in front of the G, in front of the consent calendar. Can I get a motion to do that? And I'll ask for a second.
I make a motion to move these said items in front of the consent calendar.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, with that, we'll move down to old business. The J, Camp Dry Lake Operations and Management Plan Approval. I'll open that for discussion.
Don, I'm wondering, why don't you just start with some
Yep, so just give you a little,
comments.
yep, just to kind of refresh everybody here. So we had a regular meeting on July 10th. That is where we first had an opportunity to take a look at this plan draft. And then we followed that with a study session on July 24th. And so now this is the iteration following those two meetings and following the discussion that came from the public, came from the group in both of those sessions. For reference, since then, we've also submitted a site plan to GT Metro Fire. So that's related to the life safety pieces of this. So they have received that. We've received good feedback from that. We're just waiting for the final on that particular one. So that is, again, the life safety pieces, not the operational pieces with that. And then our goal for today is to continue discussing potential operations and management plans. So just for reference for everyone as well, so this plan wasn't created in a vacuum. This plan was instead born out of discussions over the past year with this commission. It was born out of discussions with our committees, with members of the public, members of the Board of Commissioners, as well as members of the public. So we've had a lot of opportunity to have that discussion. It's a bit unconventional as this is operational, and operations are generally outside the scope of practice for the commissioner's role, but we felt that it was important to make sure that we had the opportunity to have these discussions out in public, to engage the public, and make sure we had an opportunity to hear everyone. So plan updates that have been based on and since the discussions on July 10, 24, and then internally, I wanted to direct your attention to a few things that were in that plan. We can kind of touch on those and then have additional discussion from there. So on page 3, and let me just change my screens just a little bit so I'm looking at the same thing. So bear with me for a moment here. Need to adjust this around. There's the note on the site plan application with a general map. So we added the site plan application. A note about the site plan application, we added a general map. We had a comment from someone saying that that was not a boundary map. That is true, that's not a boundary map. So when we submit our site plan, an actual boundary map would go along with that. So that site, or that map that you see on page 3 is an older version of the map. So there's a portion at the bottom that doesn't show on there where our property actually cuts off and disappears. So a little bit of the Brown Bridge is shown on that particular map. But an actual boundary map would be included in our site plan. So just wanted to make sure we made that reference point because somebody did point that out for us, and want to make sure that that's clear. Also want to make one other mention. We've talked about a caretaker previously. We are nearing completion on a job description for a caretaker, and our plan would be to add that caretaker this fall to the team.
And that would be a full-time on-site caretaker?
They'd be full-time on-site caretaker, right? They'd be living in the house on property.
Thank you.
Yep. Rental capacities. So a few things, I just wanted to refresh everybody on the rental capacities, as has been mentioned here. So that's, you'll find that on page 11 in the plan. And let me go to that spot here. All right. So just as mentioned, has been mentioned earlier, so we've set a potential for a private rental capacity at 50, and that complies with East Bay Township's places of public assembly. As was also mentioned, during that first year, we'd only have one rentable facility, one rentable facility rented at the same time, so we ensure that parking remains available for guests. So that doesn't mean that at 1 year it goes away, but that gives us the opportunity then to really see what happens, how that looks, and maybe continue that, should that be necessary. But again, we have every intention to make sure that the carrying capacity of the park is not exceeded, in effect, that we're not creating too much load on the park, that we're still creating space available for the public. So by having only one of those spaces, or one of those spaces rented with a maximum of 50 people, you're thereby creating additional space in the parking lot for folks.
That would allow any walk-ins,
Right.
The public, so on. So 50 people plus 10, 20, 30, whatever, show up.
Right.
As maybe a disc golf or encores or.
Right, something like that. Public educational use, so there's some wording in there that we're looking to change in there. So we've actually taken out the kind of the fuzzy nonprofit line in there. So if you look at the public educational use piece, we've got public / not-for-profit or nonprofit / educational, and we've taken the not-for-profit out to really focus on the educational benefit. So that word will come out. So what I'd ask for is, if you should decide to go forward with this, just that we allow those kind of administrative flexibility to take that kind of stuff out. One of the reasons for that, if you go down to our rubric, which we'll talk about a little bit later, we've since had an opportunity to talk to our legal counsel, and we want to make sure that we vet that rubric through our legal counsel to make sure that there's no unintended consequences. So we want to make sure that there's nothing in there that would allow somebody in a situation that nobody wants to come into the property, that we can prevent that from coming into the property. So we need to have that vetted through our legal department to make sure that we've firmed that up. So as has been mentioned, for the public and educational use, we would have higher numbers for that, and that's really to accommodate things like schools. So again, we go back to that educational use, and the educator gentleman, Brian, had mentioned, thank you. So, as he had mentioned, we've been working with TCAPS and other organizations, and to limit it to 50, then you've got to say, okay, so let's say all the kids in an elementary school, the school wanted to bring them all to a program on raptors. Well, you don't want to have to go to that school and say, well, all right, so we can only take 7 kids for each class, so you're the 7 lucky ones that get to go, and everybody else, y'all have to stay here. So we don't want to limit it that. We want to make sure we have the opportunity for all the kids to be able to enjoy this program and be able to experience the program. Something like that would have a higher limit, right? So you have a higher number of people that would come to that kind of program. And they're smaller people, so you can get more people into the same space. So if we said it was 200 people in one space, for example, let's use the Fire Bowl. Well, I can get maybe 200 adults in the Fire Bowl, but I could probably get 300 third graders in the Fire Bowl because they're smaller. And they'd be busing them in, so you'd still have spaces that would be available for general public, something like that. And then still, no parking outside the lot. So any activity that would happen on property has to be self-contained on property. So. Also on page 13, the noise management. So those are some things that have kind of been modified since then. The noise management and the quiet hours. So we had discussion at the last meeting, and we changed that. So we modified that to a 7:30 stop for private rentals. And so if somebody is renting a space for their own private use, that would be capped at 50 people, and they would be required to basically end any amplified music and disband their event by 8:30. So end any amplified music by 7:30 and disband the event by 8:30, just to make we're clear on that.
And can I ask a clarifying question?
Yeah, please do.
So that's for private. For public events, these would be things that would be sanctioned and approved through you all staff.
Right,
That
and
would
that's-
be things, I don't know, like a Philharmonic concert, something that you would have close oversight over.
Right.
Caretaker would be there be some sort of public benefit.
Right, and we'd go through a rubric, I'm going to say, not specifically that one, because again, we want to make sure that's vetted out through legal, but we'd go through a rubric to basically determine, is that the kind of thing that we feel is in keeping with the character of the park and the character of the area? Does it fit with that?
And can I?
Yeah,
just-
please do.
From experience, I attended the Philharmonic at the Civic Center, and it was their string palooza. So you can imagine, it's all stringed instruments. It is amplified, but they were playing 70s music and played Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin on strings. Now, it was crazy good, but it's not loud in just a blasting way. So we already have some of those relationships with those entities, and we can only imagine there may be a wish to use a facility at a time or two. They do, what, 6 concerts a year?
6 concerts, yeah.
It's not like every day, all day, it would be that.
Yeah.
Those are relationships we have.
Yeah, and that's what they're doing now in an environment where they can get more people there.
Right.
You know.
And any park activity would still be bound by East Bay Township's noise ordinance,
Yes.
correct? Yeah. Okay.
That's still in effect. Nobody's changing that. Sound, let's just talk about that for a minute. So there's been lots of discussion about sound tests and that sort of thing. So Rotary did a sound test, as has been mentioned, and that sound test had been refuted by an engineer. So the resident group brought in an engineer, and engineer basically refuted that particular sound test, or I don't know if it was a study, but just it was a test of some sort. Residents then did a follow-up test. So that test was similar into the Rotary test in that it was not conducted by an engineer, so a non-scientific test, a qualitative test, and they placed a speaker near the edge of the lake, off camp property. Those results have been well written about. Sound definitely does travel. It definitely travels better over water, so there's no disputing that. We felt that it was important to get a feel for this for ourselves. So I'll let Kara tell a little bit about it, if you don't mind.
Sure. So a couple of weeks ago, it was a relatively clear, calm day. We went out to Camp. I am sorry. How's that? Is that better? Can you hear me? Okay. We went out to Camp Greilich, John, Travis, and myself. We put Travis in a Camp Greilich canoe, being that he has the best and youngest ears, and sent him out into the lagoon. I then went to Besser Lodge with a speaker that goes up to 110 decibels. We cranked it with windows closed, windows open, all different genres of music. Then we also took it to the Fire Bowl and the pavilion. So generally what we found is that a speaker aimed out the open window at Besser at about 110 decibels at about 12 feet away. Queen could be heard clearly. The 1812 Overture, so classical music, carried pretty well. Bass and country did not carry as well. By the end of the lagoon, so we've got that like narrow section there, the sound was totally lost regardless of what we were playing. We then closed the window, kept the speaker aimed out at the lake still, did the same thing, kind of the same findings. The last thing that we did in Besser was move the speaker to a location, so on the opposite wall of George the Moose, kind of if you're imagining if hypothetically a wedding was taking place where you would put a dance floor and have the music, put the speaker there, played some dubstep, played some country, the whole thing, couldn't hear that at all. So after that, we went down to the pavilion. John went and walked the waterfront, and actually, let me skip to the Fire Bowl, and then I'll go back to the pavilion. So we went down to the Fire Bowl, played a little of everything, same thing, couldn't hear it except for just the faintest bit of bass, and that again is about 105 to 110 decibels at 12 feet. This is about as tolerable, and I don't have great hearing to begin with, about as tolerable at that distance. Lastly, the pavilion, we found something really interesting, which is that's where the concern is for the sound. That's where it carried out to the lake. What we found is if we play a speaker there between 80 to 90 decibels at 12 feet distance, you can hear it pretty darn clearly. This is without the wind blowing, so recognize that this is qualitative. This could be totally different if the wind was blowing out of the west. But at that level, that he was able to hear country, Bob Marley, Taylor Swift, all of those things. The other thing I just want to comment on that held across the whole thing is we didn't just go by Travis's ears, we went by the wildlife on the lake. So this was something that was important to me. I had eyes on some ducks that were in the lake in the lagoon, kind of at the closest point to Besser. Travis had some loons out by him when he was out in the canoe, and we didn't notice any disturbances of the wildlife with anything. That said, we, all three of us, felt like the pavilion is the main place for concern of carried sound.
Yeah.
Did I summarize it?
Yeah.
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 Any questions about what we did?
I think it's a learning experience, correct?
Yeah, based on that, we'd keep a close eye on the pavilion, reserve the right to tighten the restriction, tighten any restrictions there. I mean, that's not something that we want to have leak out.
Yeah, I mean, I might suggest that we just say no amplified music at the pavilion, if that would be fine, or like of similar distance from the shoreline, some sort of,
Well, it's actually farther from the shoreline. It's just the positioning of it.
like the way it's angled or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Then yeah, like let's just not, I don't know. What do you guys think? Just not even bother with it.
I think there's a lot to visit. There's a lot going on, so I'm not sure, like on the whole decision thing on, you can say in the
Put your microphone.
pavilions, but not at Besser or that part of it. On my personal stuff, I've read tons of emails. I know Casey and Dana, so I've been texting them as we're talking. I wouldn't mind having a conversation with them also, a little bit about, I mean, not just them, but I mean, you certainly have enough people here in front of you that care about what you're doing. And I do think with some of their comments, I do believe, you want to get it right and at least, stand by what your moral convictions are and stuff like that. For as much as I've read on it, I probably haven't read enough for myself personally. I would like more information. I mean, on the idea of just taking a park and having I'm passionate about the outdoors and parks and stuff like that, and I think I need to personally be more educated, I guess, before I could really make a decision on what we're doing tonight, me personally. That might not be with you guys, but that's with me personally. So that's kind of where I'm sitting. I would like a boatload more of information than, I mean, aside from the public comment and the stuff that I have in front of me, I think I could use some more. And maybe time out there wouldn't be bad for me. I mean, I've been out there, but I haven't certainly put speakers out there and that kind of stuff. So I don't know, that's kind of my shtick, personally.
Other questions on that?
Yeah.
I understood that we have set a time of 7:30 p.m. to stop any amplified music for private events. Is that also the case for a public event?
No, we did not set that for public events. So it's for things like, as you had mentioned.
Phil.
Yeah, TC Phil. But again, it has to fit within that rubric. So if you want to change that, this is...
Is the East Bay Township have that rule in their effect?
No, they do not.
No, okay.
So their rule, and I can't get the exact words in there, but sound cannot be at a level that would offend offend a normal, a reasonable person. Yeah, thank you.
There's the East Bay does not have any sound decibel or anything in it. It's just a statement of affecting any reasonable.
Yeah.
But certainly we have a 7:30 limit on private events.
That was what was discussed at our last meeting, and that's what we put in there.
Okay.
I'll keep touching on a couple of others unless there's any questions at that point. Okay. The alcohol piece. So as we mentioned, our current park rules allow alcohol in county parks when consumed in accordance with state statutes. We've had no reported incidents in our parks. We've got some additional research being done on that. I just didn't have that available yet at this particular time, unfortunately. Did have conversations with our sheriff department, did have conversations with our 911, so they're coming up with some additional information for me just to confirm that that is the case. We did want to make one other note regarding the alcohol, though, and there was a gentleman, I believe it was James, had made a mention of the private events and open bar, and so that is something that we actually changed since this was published, is that private events requiring an alcohol permit are ineligible to rent a space. So that's, you can interpret that a number of different ways, but really the interpretation is that somebody who's serving alcohol, so in the case of an open bar, that person has to have a permit or a license, I guess we can figure out what language that is, but they have to have a license or a permit to be able to do that. And so that would be excluded as well. So you couldn't sell alcohol, you couldn't have an event where you are giving it away, right? So you can't say, it's $10 for everybody coming into the event and alcohol is free. Nope, that's not allowed to receive a permit. You can't sell alcohol with a permit, can't have a cash bar at the permit, or at the place, and then also cannot have an open bar because the person has to have a serving permit to do that.
I just wanted to touch on that real
Yeah.
quick. I appreciate everybody's emails that you sent. I did a little homework on the area. I have an app for VRBO, and I found that there's 10 houses that you can rent on Rennie Lake. There's 7 on the lake, and there's 3 within a 10-mile radius of that. And I guess my concern with that is I can rent a house and drink a beer on the lake, but I can't come to my own park in my own county, go on the lake on a kayak and drink a beer. So I have a little issue with that, and I found there's 2 associations that are part of this, so I know you can't talk right now, but you can send me an email. I don't think we're going to make a decision on this tonight. You can send me an email. Are there homeowner associations that say no alcohol allowed at your house? Because if I'm coming to the park, I would like to be treated equally to the gentleman that's properties adjacent. Just my observations on this.
Can I ask another question that
Yeah.
came up tonight with alcohol as well? A few folks brought up concerns with children on the property, partnerships with TCAPs or other educational opportunities, and alcohol being permitted as well. One, I just want to confirm, we've talked with TCAPs and we've talked with some other youth programs. They are on board with partnering and bringing, and we have those relationships in other parks, and that has not ever seemed to be an issue.
Right. We've got youth service organizations that are in our parks now.
Right. Okay, that's great. And also, if we are in the plan, I like that it currently limits 1 main event at a time. We're not having 3 50-person events at any given time. I assume, and maybe this is just, again, for my own clarification, that you guys, when you are organizing these school trips, that all has to be done through you with logistics support, with the caretaker, right? So
Correct.
there is planning involved. We're not going to be having a 50-person Besser Lodge reservation necessarily at the same time when there's a busload of children on the
Correct.
property. Correct. Okay. And that is done through the software that we have. That is done through personal touch points and conversations and all that.
Correct.
Excellent.
Yep.
Thank you.
So those are all part of that decision-making process.
Right. That you guys do with your day-to-day operations and staff. Yeah.
That's correct.
Excellent.
I mentioned I mentioned the rubric, so page 16 has that rubric. Intention there, help guide us with decision-making, so for activities that occur on property. There's a sample in the document, as I'd mentioned. We need to discuss that further with council to make sure that we're thinking this one through deep enough and that we don't leave ourselves open to any unintended consequences that, like I said, nobody wants on the property. And then just the last thing that's changed in there was actually it has not changed, future uses. So again, currently not seeking approval for climbing tower, small arms range, archery range. As we mentioned before, the Scout shot 50,000 rounds a year. We're not looking at anything like that. It would be using it for small arms only, 22s, youth firearm safety, competitive sports shooting, competitive archery, something like that. And it would only be under permitted use. But then again, that's a future phase. That's not something we're talking about today, but I know that one's come up a number of times, and I just want to make it clear that that's not something that we're looking to open at this time, nor are we looking to open camping at this
And
time.
if I'm not mistaken, you've already kind of pushed back a few of inquiries from a group saying, we'd like to do a youth safety and some of that.
We've had conversations with 4-H.
Okay.
I should say MSU Extension. So MSU Extension runs the 4-H education programs.
Okay.
So Joe from MSU Extension, he's chomping at the bit. We're like, hold on, Joe. We let us get through the first phases, and then let's make sure we do things right with the additional phases. But they're interested, but that's not something that we're prepared to do at this particular time. So those are the changes since the last time we had an opportunity to talk. Again, other feedback, other comments.
How do reservations work, and how do you set your day out? So it opens at 8 or whatever the park times are. Is there a set amount of time that this is for public only, and we only book in somebody for events like the Raptors or whatever from noon to 4 or that kind of stuff, or how does that work?
So there isn't a specific time because it really depends on when it works best for the organization who's running the educational program, for example, and when the people who would be involved in the education would be there, really.
Right.
So schools, they're going to be coming there during the day, for example, most likely, right?
Who does that book to? We have a
That's
website
booked through
now?
our system.
Through your system.
Yeah,
all
so we would either book those directly through, actually, I should say this. None of the reservations that we would take in the system would go end to end. And what I mean by that is, for example, if somebody books a reservation at Power Island for the campsite right now, for a campsite, they do that end to end. So they basically start the process, they can finish the process, pay, they get a permit at the end of the process. Same thing with our pavilion rentals currently. Those are an end-to-end type thing. With this particular park, we would stop those. So we'd say any request that comes in that would come in on a reservation request basis, that would give us the opportunity to stop that, hold it, be able to view that and say, is this the kind of thing that is fitting with the park? Is it appropriate for the park? Now, there's some things you cannot legally, we can't discriminate against folks or anything like that. Of course, we would not do that. But that gives us the ability to stop and say, can we manage this particular thing? Is this in fitting with the park? Does that help answer it?
Yeah, pretty much. So on the group stuff, anybody that wants to have their family reunion or that kind of stuff, that goes through the same portal, or
It does,
do
yeah.
you talk to somebody individual and say, our group's this big, or how's that?
Yep,
the same?
so it would go through the same portal, it would stop. So we get the reservation request, we stop, we see that, we'd be able to parse that through and make sure that that's the right kind of thing, and then have conversations with the person to make sure that they know what the expectations are, and then choose whether or not we have the ability to continue with that one.
Okay, and we have somebody that monitors that and checks it and says,
Yeah.
here's what it is? Okay.
We have a full-time office staff.
Yeah, we've got an office staff that does that now.
Full-time office staff that monitors that.
Yeah, so some of those things, like I said, some go end to end right now. Any rentals for Howe Arena, for example, those are all stopped rentals.
Okay.
So we already, perform that kind of process.
So it won't allow somebody to overbook
Right.
by having that. And
Right.
You build in cleanup time and all that kind of stuff to it, depending on what it is.
Right, and you eliminate the risk that, like I said, if any of those 4 rentable spaces can't be rented at the same time, if those were available for end-to-end rentals, then you could conceivably have 2 people or 4 people, let's just say, push rentals through all at the same time, and then you've got 4 rentals. Well, by having them stop, then you can say, all right, this is the first one in, and this one fits, or not.
Well, I didn't know I understand on the portals for individuals, I just didn't know if a group was going through that you would have a different process than say approve, don't approve, or what the process was, so.
Got it.
I have a few additions that I think might help just clarify some of the things already in here that could help folks understand some of our intent, but also East Bay when we go and talk to them.
Okay.
So I don't think any necessarily contradicts the policies we have in place, but maybe just clarify. So based on the one event at a time and the limits that we set, I think it'd be fair to say that we're able to save at least 50% of the available parking lot for drop-in folks. Or at least a significant portion. And that was something I heard on the recording, that East Bay was interested in kind of having an assessment of the availability to folks to just drop in and use the park. So maybe trying to put some sort of number around that until as we learn and iterate. I like that we have the year locked in. I know the intent with that is not on year 2 to open it up to a bunch of events, but just for staff to understand logistically how the flow of the park works with user data and to make better decisions moving forward. So perhaps there is like another 1-year lock-in of parking or available for drop-in recreation, just something to consider. Compared to folks attending an event. It's kind of folks that would just come in and use the park on their own.
I'm trying to think of how we'd phrase that in here. So we've got during the first full year of operations, if one larger venue, Besser Lodge, Fire Bowl, Chapel, or Pavilion, we need to add that to this list. It's not listed in there. Fire Bowl, give me a moment. I'm going to add that in right now.
What page are you on, John?
I'm on page, hold on. Item 10, so I think that's page 11. Oh, page 11.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just added Pavilion to that list of 4. It just looks like that wasn't on there already. It's privately rented. The others would not be available to another group on that same day. So help me see what
I
how you're
would
looking
propose
to add.
that maybe that would say like, just a sentence after that, like, in accordance with these stipulations, at least 50% of available parking would be available to, passive recreation isn't the right word, but to like drop in recreation, or, you understand what I'm trying to say? I don't know
Yeah.
what the right phrasing would be,
Because
but,
I'm thinking if you've got an event that maxes out at 50 people and you've got 100 parking spaces, you're going to, unless someone's driving 2 cars, which is pretty impressive.
right, I know, but I agree. I think by principle, we will do this, but so this
Yep.
is just stating that clearly.
Okay.
Is all I'm trying to say.
Right. Hopefully, they carpool a little bit.
Yeah, I would, yeah.
But
Okay, I get the spirit of where
Yes.
you're going with that.
Similarly, again, something that I know we must legally do, but it might help us and it might help East Bay to just state in here that park rules are general park rules, and these additional stipulations for Camp Greilich will be posted publicly in the park and available online for anybody that wants to see them. We could even include in there like the relevant East Bay ordinances that we also fall under, so that if somebody is interested in looking up, like maybe there is an event going on, or maybe there's a school trip and they're curious if we're in accordance with what we said we would do, it's very easy to be able to determine that.
Okay.
I think that would be helpful.
So for everyone's reference, it is a statutory requirement that we have park rules posted near the entrances of a park.
Yeah. Again, just
Yep.
over clarifying
Yep.
them. And I'm gonna stick with my suggestion about no amplified music at the pavilion. I think nobody wants to, I think we all want the same thing on that front, and how we go about it is potentially a little bit different. I also think that's something that we can continue to investigate and see and iterate on. But we are being held to the same standards as everyone else on the lake, but with the East Bay ordinance. We are adhering to the lake's quiet hours. And so I feel like we're essentially operating under the equal standards of every other lakefront property owner.
Okay, just making notes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
anybody else? Questions, concerns, thoughts? Jamie? Charlie? Any? John? Brian? Any comments, suggestions?
I think I got mine voiced.
I think that the strategic planning committee, the staff, this body, put in a lot of work from where we started and to where we're at. I think you always have to start somewhere, and I think this is a really good start. I think it's consistent with very much of a lot of our parks, our park policies that we have with the county. I think that there's a lot of opportunity for outdoor education, youth programming. There are options and opportunities for other uses throughout the park property. Like I said, I think what's been put together is a good, solid base. This isn't a set-in-stone document. This is really an operational document that the park has. Granted, the Parks Department has. We're in a unique situation with this property. So we did want to, as you know, we've done is had a lot of input and things. I do think that there's probably some little edits and tweaks and things that are going to come down the road. I think there's probably some things that we realize that maybe, you know, we may be able to loosen up on. With some other things that we realize that we're going to have to tighten up on. And to think that we are all going to be able to create a silver bullet document is very hard. And I'm not too sure if it's possible, especially right out of the chute. I think over time we'll be able to make some other operational tweaks, if you will, to what we have here to help create an even better park. But I'm thankful for all the work that everyone's done on this document, and I'm pretty good with it.
I got one last question I'm stuck on. As a county park of the state of Michigan, are we bound by the state of Michigan laws? I referenced the alcohol policy in section 14 where, you know, it shows the state of Michigan laws, and you know, we're not planning to sell. And I was really impressed to see that we're not allowed glass containers.
We do not allow glass containers in any of our parks.
But back to the first question, as a parks of Grand Traverse County, are we bound by state of Michigan laws, or do we have flexibility to invoke our own statutes in the parks?
So no, I'm trying to think how to describe that. So a governing body can't create a rule that's more lax than the governing body above it, right? So
Okay.
we can't create a rule that overrides the state laws. So to that said, alcohol is, I mean, let's use that as an example. All right, so consuming alcohol is legal in the state of Michigan. Consuming alcohol is legal in the state of Michigan. Public intoxication is not. All right, so we are, in terms of that rule, we can make a rule that is tighter. So you can make a rule that says no alcohol. But that is an option. You can't go looser than the state. You can go tighter than the state.
And it looked like in this section in the state of Michigan, the sale of alcoholic beverage except for authorization of director, we've made that tighter where we're not allowing the sale of alcoholic beverage.
That's correct.
Not looser.
Right, so that is a tightening.
The glass thing was an interesting point that I wasn't aware of before, and that I
It's in
think
all
that
our
helped.
parks.
I think that helps get towards a goal.
Yep. So somebody could bring a box of wine in,
Yeah.
but couldn't bring a glass bottle.
Okay, so can we just summarize maybe some of the changes that we're proposing? I have a list, Sean. I'm not
Sure.
just to see. I've been trying to take notes. Excuse me. So there will be an included map with property boundary lines in the front.
Well, that'll be in the site plan review.
In the site plan review.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, the boundary map is a requirement in the site plan review.
Great. We are going to remove the language around not-for-profit to focus specifically on educational purposes for the public events. I don't think we've made a decision, but I'm still going to put forward the idea of no amplified music at the pavilion. And we tightened the alcohol policy to reflect what many of you suggested. That was the spirit, was just, we're open bars will not be permitted.
Right.
Or will not be allowed because they require a permit to
Right.
operate, yeah.
Open bar, cash bar, can't sell alcohol.
Yep.
Can't include alcohol as part of an activity.
Right. And then lastly, just that you might have some kind of cleanup admin changes in the document that are under your purview that I am fine with. So that's what I had listed.
Okay.
With that, do we want to make a motion to approve or this tonight?
Do you need us to approve this? What is the,
So technically
Technically,
no.
no,
This is a, but if you were to go forward with something like that, that's what I'd be looking for.
okay, or like in support of,
If you were, that's
Yeah.
your choice.
okay.
I'm still concerned about how in somebody's view, nice amplified music string quartet would go past 7:30, which was observed as a quiet hour for private events.
Okay.
I'm not sure that's following the indication of the public for the next to the quiet area.
Okay.
But I also don't see how you could have the Philharmonic Orchestra perform for 2 hours, starting at 5:30 and ending at 7:30.
They do a noon show. They did a noon show at the, on the 4th of July.
Yes, weekends are available.
So we could say no amplified music regardless past 7:30?
Maybe.
Is that your suggestion?
That feels like it
Now the,
gets closer to the quiet area guidelines.
Suggestions.
I'm fine with that.
I was trying to think back to like the shows they're doing currently at,
The amphitheater there?
at the amphitheater.
Yes, but that is a good place to do it for working people if you
Working
wanted
people and
amplified speech or music.
get off at,
It could
start
all end
at
at
6 or
7:30
something and.
for educational or weekend purposes. And maybe we could preserve that 7:30 PM quiet
there.
time. Because we have other parks.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm making that note.
So you are adding that as a requirement?
If that's the will
I'm
of
in
the
favor
group.
of that.
Any other comments? I think, just personally, one of the things on the front of, kind of the gentleman that spoke about the education, and mentioned like Ty Schmidt and some of that. I mean, we've been partnering with Ty since the institution of Norte and Safe Routes to School. And I mean, I sat on many of the business development that brought them to our parks today. And we've got a ton of those ties, and I know they have approached us. The NEST program that the schools do for students in that middle school to high school range. The Conservation District, a lot of that is down there right now at the National Education Reserve along the Boardman. And that's a very similar situation down there. I mean, it sits on one of the busiest roads, Keystone, but, you know, we've got those down there. So I think a lot of that we can bring carefully over, you know, we manage those buses today, you know. Just a thought in the back that there's a lot of that stuff out there for us. Do we want to do a motion?
That's up to you.
Do we want a motion of support, or?
I think we don't need to
Approve it?
approve, so we shouldn't
Okay.
approve. But I would make a motion to support the plan, given the listed changes that we've discussed here. And support John, you, and staff to continue discussions with East Bay and the myriad partners that this all goes to.
Like that one?
I'll support that.
Who was support?
It was me.
Jamie.
Jamie. So, motion by Grace, support by Jamie.
I can make a suggestion that that's subject to legal review.
Sure, subject to legal review.
Subject to-
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I support that too.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jamie. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Nay. Nay.
He said nay.
Okay. I was going, I had got there. Anyone opposed?
Give him a chance at least to say it.
I didn't want to steal your thunder, I'm sorry.
With that, I think there is support for it. Do we need to do a roll call, or?
I think you just did the
We
vote.
just did.
Yeah, I think we're fine.
Okay. With that, John, I think you got some, move on, and we'll keep tweaking and changing and I'm sure we're gonna stumble on some things that we learn.
Moving to new business?
Moving to new business.
So we got two items under new business. First item under new business is Camp Grylak Operations and Management Plan approval. Sorry, no, that was this item.
That was this one.
Under new business,
Natural education.
Natural Education Reserve Advisory Committee appointments. So we have two appointments, one to, I'm going to hold on just a moment, so we,
Give him a second.
I'm going to,
Let's give him a second.
yeah, I'm going to give them a second
Yeah.
just to make sure we've, great.
Do we have the appointments that we've got, are they here or not?
They're not, neither of them could make it.
Okay.
One is a reappointment, I'll explain it too.
Okay, that's fine.
Yep. I'm just going to let the folks exit and.
Anything else we just want to punch out real quick? Anything on like the consent calendar? Do we need to talk about anything? Just approve it?
There's,
Not a lot of I
mean-
was aiming for one that didn't have a lot of discussion.
right.
Yeah, you're welcome.
This will be fun.
I think we're probably okay anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, these will be quick.
Okay. Go ahead.
All right, I will go ahead. So under new business, Natural Education Reserve Advisory Committee appointments. So we have two appointments, one for James Cure, and Dr. Cure is a reappointment. He's a longtime member of the Natural Education Reserve. And the second is Barbara Winkler, and Barbara Winkler would be a new appointee, and she is actually currently a member of the Brown Bridge Quiet Area Advisory Committee. Neither of them, unfortunately, were able to be with us this evening. Both were out of town this evening.
I can make a motion that we appoint both to the appropriate boards.
Second.
Okay, motion by Charlie, second by John.
Yes.
To appoint both members, Dr. Cure and Barbara Winkler.
Winkler.
Okay. All in favor? Any discussion? Anything up? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Anybody opposed? Gotcha, bastard. Passes.
All right.
Resolution.
Our second item is, we've discussed this quite a few times, but we've not actually brought this one to the commission. So this is a resolution to formally name the property known as the Grylak property, I suppose, as Camp Grylak. It's the unnamed property. So we have a resolution that has been added to the agenda. At a regular meeting of the Grand Traverse County Parks and Recreation Commission held on the 14th of August, 2025 at 5:30 with 6 members present. I don't know how we account for that because we only have 6 now, so I guess it's just 6 present. The following resolution was proposed. So the resolution is, whereas the Rotary Club of Traverse City, under the leadership of Clarence Grylak, purchased and dedicated the property in 1923 as a place for youth and families to escape the daily pressure of life and experience nature. Whereas the property's longest historical use was as a Boy Scout camp named Camp Greilich from 1955 through 2016, whereas Grand Traverse County acquired the 196-acre property on August 27, 2024, whereas the property has a long-standing history as a retreat focused on outdoor recreation and education. Now therefore be it resolved that Grand Traverse County Parks and Recreation Commission officially adopts the name Camp Greilich for this property. So that would be the resolution that is before you.
I'll make that motion.
I'll support that.
Motion by Jamie Callahan, support by Charlie Jetter. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? It is now officially Camp Greilich.
I like it.
I like it.
All right, what's our order now?
Now we go back to the consent calendar.
Now we
Alright.
can consent.
I believe.
I think you are right, yes. Old, new consent calendar, there we go.
Yep.
All right, so the purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items to be dealt with by one commission motion without discussion. Any member of the commission, staff, or the public may ask that any item on the consent calendar be removed therefrom and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such request will automatically be respected. If any item is not removed from the consent calendar, the action noted, receive and file or approval, is approved by a single commission action adopting the consent calendar. Receive and file, item number 1, Easling Pool GT Bay YMCA membership report. Under approvals, item number 2, regular meeting of the Grand Traverse County Parks and Recreation Commission of July 10, 2025, and study session of the Grand Traverse County Parks and Recreation Commission of July 24, 2025. And that is your consent calendar.
I have a motion.
Can I actually pull the YMCA numbers?
You can.
Jeez,
Sorry, James.
kidding.
We haven't talked about them in a while. Just
Okay.
thought we'd check in.
So, we're gonna pull that. Can I have a motion to approve with that off?
I give you a motion to approve that.
To approve the consent calendar as with the exception of the YMCA. Second?
Second.
Okay, it's a motion by Brian, second by John Solhaki. All in favor of the approval?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Let's talk about the YMCA, John.
All right.
So my question really just stemmed at the very bottom. They do like the total and retention rates and all that stuff, and it looks like we're down in membership by quite a bit. A year.
So, summer.
Oh, okay. So
the
that
summer-
just accounts for the like pausing
Yep.
the snowbirds.
They have a lot of folks that pause memberships during the summer.
Gotcha.
I guess the theory is that I'm pausing it during the summer, I'm gonna go outside and do my workout, and, well, most people don't.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. As long, I just saw a 65% retention rate in that.
Which
made
is
me a little
actually quite
nervous,
high
so-
for a fitness industry.
Really?
That is
Okay.
quite high.
Okay, interesting. Thank you. That was it. Just
Okay.
wanted to see if anything was going on with that.
All right.
Report?
Do we have to,
Oh,
like,
I need to
Make a motion to approve,
approve
to
to accept it?
to accept it,
receive and file the Easling Pool numbers.
okay? Second,
Second?
by Jamie. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nobody opposed? No. All right. Down to, reports. John,
Nope, I'm last.
The budget report, isn't it?
budget report.
Oh, budget report is there, all right, so, hold on a second here, let me get to that.
We know we get you in the hot seat now.
We're all flustered with doing this out of order.
I've just gotta get to my right, my correct file here, and that's not the
Keep
right
you on your
file.
toes.
I know.
Monitor the budget for us.
All right, so under the budget report, so a couple items on the budget report. So under revenue, I just mentioned one item, so you'll see $18,397 in revenue for rentals. It's summer, so Power Island rentals, and we have some arena rentals that basically cover that amount. And then there's some recurring rental in there for spaces like Norteza spaces and those sorts of things. But that's the only real thing of consequence in there. Under expenditures, you'll notice a big number under contract services, so $445,067. Majority of that is to AJ's Excavating, and that is for the walking track project at Civic Center, which again is offset by Michigan DNR Spark grant that was awarded in late 2022. So we will only see one more payment likely to AJ's. We've paid majority of payments to them already. We're holding back. I shouldn't say holding back. That's not the right term. They've been an excellent partner, but there's an amount that is held back. I guess that is the right term. until the punch list items are completed. So there are a few small punch list items that they are working through effectively, so they've been, again, a great partner to work with. So once those punch list items are done, then that remaining amount will be paid out to them. And then there's a small amount in there for other incidental contract services that we've paid. Grounds care, so you'll see that item in there, 4629, so that's a couple of things. So we purchased 160 yards of mulch, I believe it was, for the playground at Civic Center. So it takes a lot of mulch, a lot of ground cover. So we added that, and that's the majority of that amount. And then another smaller amount within there that fits within the grounds care is playground removal. So we had a playground that is well past its useful life. That was at the Keystone Soccer Complex, and we took that out. Interesting project to take that out. There were concrete footings, like 7 concrete footings in that. Even the steps, I mean, even in the bottom of the stairs had a concrete footing that was like 4 feet deep. Where the end of the stairs are ever going to go, I don't know. We ended up having to bring out some loaders and some pretty big equipment in order to just lift those out. And then because of the weight of those and because there was metal in there, we couldn't just recycle those. We had to take those to a dump. So
When was that put in? Do you have any idea?
no, 2000, 2002, something like that. We acquired the property in 2002, so I guess I should say it wasn't before that. Sometime between 2002 and 2005, most likely. So a good long life for a playground.
Yeah.
So that is the budget report.
Any questions for John? Comments? Thank you. John, move on down.
Strategic planning?
Strategic
Nothing.
Planning Committee, Jamie.
We did not meet last
We
month,
did
so I
not
do not
meet.
have a report.
Okay. Jalen's not here on the Rules Committee, and I don't think they met, did they?
They did
John?
not.
They did not.
No, we did not.
Natural Education Reserve Advisory Committee, John, you just attended that.
Yes, that
Joe
was,
was there.
Actually, Joe was not there. He was unable to make that one.
Okay.
There was actually not a quorum at that particular meeting for the Natural Education Reserve Advisory Committee, unfortunately. There were a few things that we just informally discussed, but there were no votes brought before that group and no votes to be brought before that group at that time. I can take the T-Base piece. So I was
Yep.
at that meeting. Jalen was there as well. We had a conversation with the good folks at T-Base about potential grant opportunities in the future. So that is one thing that we have the opportunity to file for grants through the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund. And they've got some things that they're looking to do. So what we've been asking them to do is to help create a vision for that particular park based on what it is that they're looking to do. And so they have an interest in a couple of things. So particularly they have an interest in a restroom building with a concession stand and then some added office space to that. So what we've asked them to do is to take a look at that, take a look at possible engineering for that and some design work and determine if that is what they wanted to go with. And we would actually be able to file an application beginning February 1st, and we have up until April 1st of 2026 to do that. And so if they're interested in going forward, we would just ask for their participation in that.
Where are they thinking about putting the building?
So there was dissension among the group. So we said, well, y'all got to figure out what it is that you're interested in doing, where you're interested in putting it. And then from there, once you've got some kind of vision with it, take that to your architect, and then let's see what they can come up with. But it doesn't make sense, and they would not have a successful grant opportunity if they just went and said, we'd like to do this, but we don't have any plans. If it's too fuzzy, the Natural Resources Trust Fund Board is going to look at that and say, we don't know if you're going to put a shovel in the ground, so you need to have something that's more definite. So that was the
Probably
focus.
some engineering work done and things like that. It's possible and
Yes.
where and
Yep.
access and.
We also talked about their recent adult tournament that they held out there. Adult tournament went very well. It was a successful tournament, and they anticipate that group potentially being back next year. So that is a nationwide group. Their annual tournament travels the country, and so they can't be in one place for more than 2 years. So they do anticipate them coming back for next year, but then they would go somewhere else in the country for the following year. And that's the reason for that is that so it's not always in Traverse City, for example, and everybody from California and Florida doesn't have to travel here. Some years it might be in Florida, so it's more advantageous for the person who lives there or the team from there. So they rotated around the country to benefit all. For their upcoming tournament, the Fall Classic, that is September 19th, 20th, 21st. And that, right now, they are right now they have about 160 teams registered. That is without their teams. So their T-based teams have not been included in those numbers yet. So that number would go up to something else at that time. But they're pleased with how that registration is looking. It's looking consistent with previous years. This tournament is lighter than their spring tournament. So, you know, their spring tournament draws, I don't know how many teams, whatever that was, 300 teams, something like that. Yeah. So they'll certainly get less for this one. And that was the T-base report.
Okay. Moving on down, Road Commission, Joe is not here.
I do know they're meeting right now.
Yes.
Okay. That's where he's at.
Yeah.
All right. Drain Commission, Andy's not here. And Brian.
I don't have a lot right now. We just talked about everything we were going to talk about, so that's about it.
All right.
With that, Director's Report. John?
Just a couple quick things. So with Greilich, we have installed the disc golf tee pads. And again, that plan also went through the Grand Traverse Regional Conservation, Regional Land Conservancy, to make sure that we were fitting well within the guidelines of the conservation easement. So that is the case. We've put permanent disc golf tee pads in place. Those replaced the sketchy wooden tee pads that were in place previously. And since those are permanently attached to the ground, those would count against the developable space. So we've added those. Spent some additional cleanup work on property, and staff continues to do that internally. We're also starting to work on the house and to get that in good shape and ready for the caretaker, and building our list of all the final things that would need to be done before we're ready to open the park in terms of signage and trail signage and rule signs and trash cans and all those sorts of things to make sure that we've got an appropriate place for folks. And then one last thing, we've got a work bee that is scheduled for September 13th. So this is a follow-up from the work bee that was done back in June. Yeah, June, where we had about 60 folks present, many of them former alumni from Camp Greilich. And that group is interested in coming back. So September 13th is the date for that, and we're still working on the work plan for that one. Walking track for the Civic Center, that was a successful ribbon cutting. We did that on August 6th, so thank you to those who were able to come out and join us. And we had an opportunity to do tours of the park and for people to be able to see that, and that whole event coincided with the ticker recess. So it was a fun evening to be able to get people out there and just enjoy the park and enjoy a little picnic in the park. So that is my report.
Okay. With that, we are on.
One more.
Yes.
You need to talk about this. This is your
stickers.
brilliance.
I'm going to pass these around, but you can't keep them. So, back in April, we went out to North Ed's Career Tech Center and presented to about 60 graphic arts students. We presented on all of our parks and kind of the unique features of each. We asked the students to pick their favorite parks and create stickers. We gave them very few design cues as far as whether they wanted their attribution or the park name. And we got a really good deal from a partner called Vinyl Disorder, who printed 100 of each of these stickers. There's 20 altogether. 19 of them are being hidden in geocaches throughout county parks. There's currently 4 in the wild. We're working on getting the rest of them out there. And for the number 20, I found all the parks. There's a QR code that folks can scan, and we'll mail that special sticker out to them. So I will pass them around, just a couple of them, so you can get an idea. I'm really proud of what the kids accomplished, and we're hopeful to make this an annual event. So looking forward to seeing how many of you guys can find all the stickers, and I'll pass them around so you can take a peek.
All right. But like she said, you can't take them. All right, so these are going to be for the people who are in
So
geocaches.
we have to go
but how
find
can you
them.
get these?
Jamie?
You have to find them, yes.
We have to go find them.
You can find them.
Get
Yep.
on out there.
So all those geocaches will be out there, the coordinates will be out there, you can go and check them all out. But the students did an amazing job with this.
That's so fun.
Yeah.
And I'll add it's a popular thing. So I hid them yesterday, or I posted them yesterday, but it was under a review process. And so I didn't actually hide them because I didn't know if it would get approved. And by 5:30 in the morning, I already had somebody that had tried to find the geocache and was unable to.
It was approved at 10:30 last night.
It was approved at 10:30 last night. By 5:30, people were already looking for them. So I contacted that person, said, it's out there now, go find it. And within an hour, they were able to do that.
Wow.
So it's a popular activity.
Yeah, the what's called first to find in the geocache world is a big thing. So once one's posted, people will have those, you know, like find any new posted caches, send those to me, and they'll get them by email or text or whatnot. So yeah, the first to find is a big deal. But
Very cool.
All right.
thank you for the career tech students that have
Awesome.
graced us with their artwork, and thank you, Kara, for putting this
Thanks.
program together. This is a
That was
really
all
cool.
fun. That was not work.
That was-
That's a little dark.
Very cool.
Uh-oh.
If anybody else wants to see them, you're welcome to see them afterwards too. You just got to go find them.
Second, we're down to second
Yeah.
Second.
public comment?
Yep.
Any public going to make a second? Same rules as before, 3 minutes.
So my name is Molly DeBell, and I live on Rennie Lake. And you know, watching this meeting tonight, I have to say how disappointed I am. I mean, you guys listened to a room of 50 people talk about how they didn't want large events, how they didn't want alcohol, how they didn't want amplified music. And instead of addressing those concerns, it seems like all you did was try to find workarounds on how to keep doing what you wanted to do anyway, and just like tweak it a little bit to make it maybe seem like you were listening to what people had to say. But in fact, you're all of the things that people don't want, you're going to allow anyway. So I don't know. It seems like you didn't listen to what people said. You didn't really take it to heart, and I'm just so disappointed in that. And I'm just like, no wonder people don't have faith in government. No wonder people don't believe in their elected government officials. When you have a room packed with all of these people telling you all the things that they don't want, and you don't listen to any of that, and all you do is try to find a workaround to get what you want anyway. I'm just so disappointed. If this amplified music and alcohol, I tell you, if there are problems on the lake and in the neighborhood about all of this stuff, I'm going to be on the phone calling you guys and emailing you guys all the time. So I just want to just forewarn you, just be prepared.
Marie Bifus, 435 Hobbs Highway. Born and raised right outside of Camp Greilich. And I have been a supporter of this committee until this evening. I was fighting for you guys. I was on the plan. I did not like Mr. Jetter's response about the VRBOs, because the VRBOs that are on our lakes, that are on Spider, that are on Rennie, those people have turned us into the neighborhood police. We're the one have to educate the folks that come in about the rules on how to run on the lake, how to drive on the lake, how to act on the lake, what not to dump in the lake. Right, so we've been turned into the police. So my first question is going to be, who am I calling? Right, because we will end up being the police force, because your caretaker's not going to be able to handle the level of load. That was my first point. The second point, you're getting information from the sheriff on accidents. I will tell you now, when we did this 2 years ago with GOREC, those information was not accurate. There have been 2 accidents on Hobbs Highway since, what's everybody say, the end of June, 1st of July? We've had both guardrails at the end of Hobbs Highway at opposite ends have been damaged. Those are not going to show up on your reports, because my guess is nobody called the sheriff. They were most likely alcohol related based on the damage that's been done to the guardrails, okay? And that's without having parties out there. That's just us and our neighbors, right? So let's face it. And the other thing, you talked about the loons and the ducks, they don't care about the music anymore. You got to come right up to a duck or a loon to scare the crap out of them. They don't care about the music. What does care about the music? The deer, the bears, the foxes, the coyotes, the stuff that you didn't see because you've driven them off, right? Where I live, I'm a direct path from Spider Lake, where they get their water, they come up my driveway, they go out to the state land, they come around the state land, they go on to Tibbetts, they go on to Rennie, and then they go on to GOREC. We see it all the time. You're going to take that away from some of the folks who are going to be out there walking. The amplified music is going to affect, I don't care where you put your speaker on Besser Lodge, we've all heard it, right? We heard it with the Boy Scouts, we've heard it before. We understand that there's going to be some, but you can't be having an event all the time. That destroys what is part of being the quiet area. And you didn't listen to any of the Quiet Area Advisory Board when they tried to tell you what their concerns were. So again, just like she said, you guys decided how this was going to go. So all you've done is now push the fight back to East Bay's Planning Commission. And that's where they all came back in to make public comments. They all stood out there and had a conversation on what they're going to do next, because all of you didn't really listen to what they were trying to tell you. I understand that you need to make revenue, but you also didn't listen to the individual who said, if you get rid of that, we'll help. Right? Let's face it, there's a lot of people who have money around this place that live out there, and they will help. But right now, you've tied their hands because there are some people who are saying, we're not going to do that if you're
Time's
going to
up.
have events.
Time's up.
Okay.
Thank you. Isn't it playing?
Hi, I'm Mike Lynch, Rainy Lake, and I'm just asking for some clarification, and I'm not sure what the rules are about back and forth conversation, but what I'm really curious about, I know you had a vote of support, but I'm not clear what you're supporting. Grace, you were, I think, saying no amplified music or after 7:30. And so, John, I don't know if you changed your document to that, or is it still public events? I'm confused. So can you answer that, or answer that at some point?
Can we? Yes, so.
Well, that's up to Rod.
Very short. We got, I mean, we're
Yes,
getting.
what we supported was that there'll be no amplified music past 7:30, and especially no amplified music at the pavilion at any time.
Okay. And John, you agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
It's
He put it in the plan. That's, yeah.
Sherry Lynch, Rennie Lake. You know, I've been involved in politics for a very long time, and I have served on commissions just like this one. And I cannot believe that you actually made the decisions that you made, having the degree of public opposition and the broad spectrum of stakeholders in opposition to this plan. Your job is to fulfill the mission and vision for parks. And if you'd bothered to take a look at that, everything that we asked you for is entirely within that vision and that mission. Everything that you voted for is not. Nowhere in that vision and mission does it say that alcohol is necessary to preserve and conserve nature. Nowhere does it say amplified music or sound of any type of loudness is good for nature. In fact, the science tells us otherwise. And you're supposed to understand the science. Nowhere does it say it's a really good idea to put lots of people in a small area and have them trample all over the place. It's just not good for nature. How is any of that fulfilling your mission? How does any of that contribute to the education of conservation and preservation? It doesn't. I'm appalled, frankly. And I gotta say, I'm pretty embarrassed. You'll see us again at East Bay Township.
Thank you.
Jacqueline Andrus, representing the Brownbridge Quiet Area. My last question to you was this: how do you want to start this relationship? It's supposed to be a long-term relationship. And I'm shamed to see that this is the direction that you'd rather go. You've broken your angel's wing tonight. The disrespect that you're showing to Casey Cowell is just despicable. One thing I do want to say, 7:30, you feel proud of yourselves that you've agreed to ratcheted this back to 7:30. That does absolutely no good for the Brownbridge Quiet Area. The average user of the Brownbridge Quiet Area is leaving the park at 7:30. So you, in essence, have done nothing for the Brownbridge Quiet Area. You've shown no respect for us as an advisory committee advising up to the city. We're telling you, the park starts to empty at 7:30. So somewhere, some way, somehow, tell me how you're considering the 51, how many people was it? The thousands and thousands of people that come to the Brown Bridge quiet area because it's quiet. You're doing nothing for them. Nothing at all. And I'm beyond belief. And Brian, I hope Casey isn't too heartbroken here.
Well, folks, I think we need a review class on the good neighbor. I think I'd have to give you guys Fs. I'm really disappointed in how many people, 275 people, signed a petition. We didn't even have that acknowledged by anybody. You guys went on with this like, good, we have those idiots out of here, now we can get on with our business, like we're a problem or detail that you have to deal with. The challenge that we're having is we have nobody that's really representing us. You guys are all what, appointed by who? The county commission? So we go to East Bay Township, we don't get their township either. So guess what? We're having this done by a bunch of appointees, and none of them had to stand up for election. And do you think that's going to go over well with the town? Do you think that's going to go well with our neighbors? No, it's not, because that sure as hell isn't democracy. When we all come here and spend money, and you guys don't even give us any... Do any of you guys ever felt like you were heard tonight? Anybody? No. So there you go. It's a failure, F+.
Sue Svensson, Scout Camp Road, and also want to express the disappointment tonight. I think everyone was really sincere. They've really done, made considerations to explain in good, thoughtful ways why this plan does not work for this area. And I'm very, very disappointed. I think that the study of somebody sitting in a canoe with one speaker compared to the audio studies that have been done, that it's just kind of hearsay and hearsay. That didn't work for me at all. These are important issues. We're talking about the sound and how it travels on the lake, not somebody sitting in a canoe or whatever it was and one speaker. Sounds crazy to me. A lot of these things were very shallow in terms of rebuttals to our concerns for the children. There was a lady who was talking about, well, if she brings a group of children and there's another event going on where they are having alcohol, their liability insurance may not allow them to have that educational group there. So, you really need to just go slow here. You need to make it very restrictive. Go for the groups we all have acknowledged are important, and then just lay off on the other stuff. Somebody made it, let's check how many users there are. Let's see how many parking spaces gets used. Let's see where people are going to picnic and to hike. Let's see what families are thinking. Let's get some feedback after the first year. By committing and renting out these places in advance, a year in advance, you're pretty much committed to following through for 1 year. I would suggest for the first year, go slow, be restrictive, and have lots of studies and see what's going right. Thank you.
Ann Post, Graylick Road, Spider Lake, East Bay Township. And I like piggybacking on what you just said, because I think the best thing would be to go slow. You can't undo you can't undo the no alcohol, for instance. So my driveway is 1 mile to the parking lot, and I walk all the time. And I have daughters-in-laws saying, you shouldn't be on Hobbs, stay off of Hobbs. And I'm very careful, and I don't tell them I am, but it's a twisty, as you know, dangerous road for walkers, for bikers, for cars. And then to add any alcohol at all, just it does scare me even more. So I cut through woods when I can, but I want to also say thank you all for what you've done, because I know there's been a ton of time put in. I've been to Spring Lake listening to you, and you're in a tough spot, but I'm here just saying, please listen to all these people. There's people on Spider Lake as well that love that Camp Graylick and would love to get back there and just walk the trails. And I could get you a bunch of volunteers that would pick up trails. My husband would bring his chainsaw. If you need people just to work with volunteers, you could do a lot, and that means you don't have to do as much spending money, if that makes sense. Thank you.
Karen Smith, Cants Road, and I am too very disappointed. But I would also like to ask, you say no amplified music after 7:30 at night. There's nothing in writing as what time are you going to start? What time are you going to allow amplified music? Now we have amplified music every day. Mr. Chase will tell us it's a 3-season park. Next thing you know, in his next packet, it's a 4-season park. Is it a 2-season park? Is it a 4-season park? How many days do we have to sit outside, can't even be outside, without amplified music? I mean, seriously, if you came to our lake, we offered before, anybody wants to come and take a pontoon ride, go around. Today, I can hear people 3/4 of a mile away, at least on the other side of the lake. You can hear every single conversation. You don't need an amplifier. You can hear it. I don't understand your decisions. I really don't. The eagle's nest is on the camp. What's going to happen to the eagles now? Because I know they don't like the noise. So, that's okay. You want the raptor people come and let their birds out? They're not going to come, because the birds aren't going to like the noise either. I'm really, really disappointed.
Paul Decker, Scout Camp Road. I had no real sense of expectation of what to get out of this tonight. I've been to the meetings in the past, but for some reason I did feel like this was going to be different. And I think what people are asking you is not to think about this as any other park in the community, because it is different. It is unique. It's unique for all of these reasons that we've talked about, and because of that, it shouldn't follow the same template as the other parks. The infrastructure drives a different type of utilization, but it doesn't have to be this way. And I think that we just need to be more thoughtful about creative ways that we can use that will make everybody in here happier, the board included. Thank you.
James Thompson, Scout Camp Road. This is insanity. And embarrassed, I think was one word. Frustrated. This all could have gone away today. This could have gone away months ago. This could have gone away with GoRec. And here we are talking about the same crap. All you've done is put Band-Aids on the big picture. You've tried to placate us with 7:30 and with no alcohol at certain times, certain events. Why don't you make it a nature preserve like you said you were gonna? Look at your vision statement, look at your neighborhood impacts. The gloves are getting ready to come off, guys, because you failed us. And we now have 2 opportunities to fix this, or it's gone forever. I am not happy.
Josh Lote. I'm not sure I've ever seen a public group at a government meeting more disrespected than what I saw tonight. Perhaps we need a better amplified sound system to get our points across. I feel like you had your minds made up going into this, and nothing this packed room said, researched, or did was going to make one bit of difference. Less than 10 words could make this plan something the entire community could support. But you want none of it, and you continue to move forward with building Civic Center Southeast. couple specific points for you to consider going forward. Not that it probably matters, but you can't lean on the East Bay Township sound ordinance. It's not enforceable. The director of planning and zoning at East Bay told me that. In terms of same standards as everyone else on the lake, this is a ridiculous false equivalency in terms of scope, scale, and intensity. East Bay doesn't allow these uses for literally anyone else other than you. That requires special considerations. And it's not reasonable to compare our private use or the use of a VRBO to your public park. None of us have 103 parking spaces, advertise large commercial events, and we're all accountable to our neighbors. This is a false equivalency. On amplified music, the pavilion is not the only problem. You're leaning very heavily on Kara's canoe test, and you're ignoring our sound demonstration that was backed up by the most credentialed acoustics engineer in the state of Michigan. I shared this video with you. Your ears don't lie, and I'm going to use whatever remaining time I have left so everybody can hear that test. This was at the nearest neighbor next to the camp. This was 1,000 feet away. This is 2,038 feet away from the source. (4,200 feet away from the source. I don't care what your canoe says. My ears don't lie.
Any other public comment? With that, we move on to notices and commissioner comments. The one thing that we need to look at is our September date. Is currently at September, it was September 11th. We're moving it up to September 4th.
I have it in for September 4th already, so.
I think we've talked about it, but it's just a quick reminder to everybody that it was scheduled and we changed it. I had it in as September 4th also. We did that earlier.
Okay.
But I just want to make sure everybody's aware. Any other comments, notices? Okay. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you, thank you, thank you.